Greetings, Earthlings, and welcome back to Podcastage. What you're listening to and what I'm reviewing today is a $50 XLR dynamic microphone, the Maono PD100. If you are interested in this microphone, I'll throw some links in the description down below. All of the recording settings will be listed in the doobly-doo and the description. And now let's talk about the box and what comes within it. What a surprise, you are going to get the microphone, you will get a desktop stand, you'll get a 6-foot XLR cable, and a tiny bit of documentation. Then as far as the build quality, it doesn't feel great, but it feels tolerable. It does have an all-metal body, but it feels like cheaper metal. It has a metal mesh grill, which does have a bit of give to it. You have a metal mounting bracket, which is attached with a plastic knob. On the mounting bracket, you will find 5/8 and 3/8 inch threading. On the rear of the mic, you will find the XLR port. And if you care, this device is made in China. Then as far as the specs, I will list all of them in the description, but I will also have them up on screen in case you want to pause them and get a closer look at any of the graphs or any of the information. Now I am spinning around the PD100 to 90 degrees to show you the off-axis rejection and coloration. Continuing around to 180 degrees, this is the rear of the mic. Continuing around to the second 90-degree angle, here we are, and then rotating and ending at the front of the mic. Now let's go ahead and see how this microphone does at rejecting plosives. Please bring pizza pronto. Please bring pizza pronto. Please provide pizza pronto, please. Now I am right on top of the PD100 to demonstrate the proximity effect, and here is how it's sounding. Now I'm about 3 inches off with it pointed at the corner of my mouth, and here's how it sounds. Now about 1 foot away from the PD100 and about 4 feet away from the Maono PD100. Now I am typing on a keyboard with Gatoron blue switches to see how much of my voice versus how much of the keyboard it picks up. And for the gaming folk, now I'm typing on the SAD W and the spacebar keys. Now, here is how the microphone sounds about 3 inches away from my mouth in a well-treated room. And here is how the microphone sounds in a completely untreated space about 3 inches away from my mouth. Next, I want to see how effective the microphone is at rejecting shocks, so I'll start by tapping on my desk to see how much of that noise it can reject. And then I will tap on the boom arm. Now I have the microphone on the provided desktop stand. It is 8 inches away from my mouth. I increased my gain to about 100%, and here is how it sounds right out of the box using this setup. And if you were to touch your desk while using the desktop mount, this is how much rumble it picks up. Moral of the story, don't use the desktop stand. Now, because I'm incredibly annoying, I am going to tap on the microphone to see if there are any kind of resonant frequencies. Now, like I always do, I'm going to do a quick spoken word comparison between the microphone that I'm reviewing and a bunch of other microphones that are available so we can hear how it stacks up against the competition and get an idea of how this sounds in the context of the microphone marketplace. Starting on the Maono PD100, 3 inches off, gain set at 430, and here's how it sounds. First, we are on the Behringer XM8500, which goes for about $25, 3 inches off, gain still set at 430. Check the lower third, and here's how this sounds compared to a mic that is 2x the price. Back again on the PD100 for another palette cleanser. Get a good feel for it, let's go to another mic. Now I am on the Mackie EM89D, which costs $50, which is identical to the Maono PD100, 3 inches off, gain 430, blah blah blah. Let's go back to the Maono. We are back on the Maono for another palette cleanser. Let it clear out your ear holes, blah blah blah. Let's go to the next microphone. Now I am on the Zoom ZDM1, which is another $50 broadcast-looking dynamic microphone, 3 inches off, gain still set at 430, 1-to-1 comparison in terms of price. Let's go back to the Maono and do a bunch more comparisons. I bet you wouldn't have thunk it, but we are back on the Maono PD100 again. Nothing has changed. Let's do another comparison. Now I am on the Shure SM58, which is one of the most ubiquitous microphones out there. 3 inches off, gain at 430. This costs $100, so 2x the price of the Maono. That's it. Let's go back. We are about halfway done with this, but here is the 5th palette cleanser. That's it. Let's go to another mic. Now I am on the Elgato Wave DX, which is a $100 broadcast-looking dynamic microphone, 3 inches off, gain still set at 430, and here is how this compares to a microphone that is half the price. We have a lot more broadcast dynamic mics to do, so let's do them. We have another palette cleanser for you. Who would have thunk it? Get a good feel for it in your ear holes, and let's do another comparison. Now I am on the Audio Technica AT2040, which is another $100 broadcast-looking dynamic microphone, 3 inches off, gain still set at 430. Check the lower third or the doobly-doo, and let's go back to the Maono and do a bunch more comparisons, because we're not done yet. We are coming in on the end, but again, a palette cleanser for you. That's it, nothing more to say, another microphone. Now I am on the Rode Podmic, which is another $100 broadcast-looking dynamic mic, 3 inches off, gain still set at 430. Here is how it compares. We have 3 more to go, I think. Get a good feel for it. Let's go back to the PD100. All right, we are getting very near to the end, but this is the Maono PD100, 3 inches off, gain still set at 430. Let's go to the next one. Next, I am on the SE Electronics DCM3, which is another $100 broadcast-looking dynamic microphone. 3 inches off, gain 430. Here is how this sounds compared to a microphone that is half the cost. Let's go back, and we only have 2 more to go. Back on the PD100 for the penultimate palette cleanser. This is how it sounds. Check the lower third. Let's go to the second to last microphone. Now I am on the Shure SM7b with the EQ switches in neutral mode. This is a $400 broadcast dynamic mic, meaning it is 8 times the price of the Maono. Does it sound 8 times better? You tell me. That is it. Let's go back to the Maono and do one final comparison. And you all know what the final microphone is going to be, but first up, this is the final palette cleanser on the Maono PD100. Let's go to the last microphone. And whoop-diddy-doo, now we are on the Neumann. Hello, Neumann! U87 Ai. This is a $3,700 multi-pattern studio condenser microphone. Cardioid mode, no pad, no filter. About 3 inches off. Gain set at about 1130. And here is how it compares to a microphone that is significantly cheaper. I'm not going to do the math. I don't feel like pulling out a calculator. Let's go to the music test. I don't have a nice voice, so no one wants to hear me sing. I know they'd rather listen to anything but me. That may not be true, but I just struggle to come up with lyrics that rhyme. So I just play, I sing, and then eventually something comes out like that. Let's go to the conclusion because this is just a nightmare. You don't care. All right, are you ready for a glowing opening line to the conclusion of this review? It's fine. It's not great, but it's fine. And first up, as far as pros, the microphone is incredibly affordable at $50. And secondly, at that price, excluding the audio interface, you are getting everything that you need to start recording. You get the microphone stand, you get the microphone, you get the XLR cable. The only thing that could be icing on the cake is an effective pop filter. Then as far as cons, I found the top end of this microphone to come across quite artificial and a bit unpleasant. It also did a poor job with shock rejection. This is me just dropping my mouse from maybe a centimeter. That makes it into the microphone, and that is because it is very microphonic. If I tap on the boom arm, picks that up. If I rub the microphone, quite loud in the microphone in the recording. And lastly, it didn't do a great job at plosive rejection. Sorry about that. And now, what are my overall thoughts and opinions of the Maono PD100? As far as the overall sound profile, you get a very robust bass and low midsection. I would say it's a bit overpowering. Then we get a recessed midsection. You get somewhat of a V shape. And then we get a very aggressive and boosted and artificial sounding presence and treble region. On the electric guitar, I wasn't a fan of it because it scoops the mids too much, and that leads to it sounding V-shaped, and on top of that, the upper frequencies come across harsh. On the acoustic guitar, it's the exact same story. We have too much information in the bass and low mids, not enough in the mids, and then the top end comes across sounding artificial. Not something I'm going to use on the acoustic. For singing vocals, it's the exact same story. I don't like the scooped midsection, and the boost in the upper frequencies comes across a bit too forward and, in my opinion, a bit too artificial. And finally, for spoken word, I am sure there are going to be people who absolutely love the V-shaped sound, that boost in the lower frequencies, the cut in the mids, and the boost in the presence and treble region, but I don't like how robust it is, and I don't like how bright it is, but I do think it is improved by using the microphone a little bit farther away because that reduces the proximity effect. So would I recommend the Maono PD100? Kind of, but not really. I have to admit it's an incredibly affordable microphone, it functions, and it looks decent on camera, and that's what a lot of beginners are looking for. But as far as the sound of the microphone, I prefer the sound of the competing microphones in pretty much every single case, but I know people will disagree with me because I know people absolutely love V-shaped sounding microphones. Regardless of the sound of the microphone though, if you're going to be using the provided desktop stand or using a boom arm that is mounted to your desk and you are going to have shocks on your desk, like dropping a mouse down, I don't think this is the right fit because it is going to pick all of that noise up. But if you are on an extremely tight budget of around $50, you enjoy or prefer that V-shaped sound, and you aren't going to have any issues with shocks of the desk, then I say go for it. You're just going to need to be a bit careful with the plosives on this thing. Let me go ahead and move the microphones out of the way. That is all that I have for you. Listen to that noise making it into the microphone as I just knock over a mic. If you found this video fun, interesting, or helpful, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. Hated it, big ol' thumbs down. These people support the channel at $5 or more. I love them and I love you. Thank you so much for watching. I will talk to you next week. Bye-bye. Whoa. Whoa. Boop.